Of course, it's always a good time to talk about Bridgerton. This is why recasting Bridgerton's Simon Basset is what everyone's talking about. Also, we'll dive into Netflix's newly announced documentary about Johnny Manziel, how President Obama has become the second president in history to win an Emmy, and much more. Let's have a moment to catch up, why don't we? Let's go. But first, why recasting Bridgerton's Simon Basset is what everyone's talking about. With Season 3 of Bridgerton drawing ever closer, and the storyline is wandering away from the original source material ever more, the arguments for and against a recasting of the Duke of Hastings are growing louder by the day. The discussion was fueled by the decision to recast Francesca ahead of Season 3. But the question is it really necessary to recast regé-jean Page? As Bridgerton Season 1 revolved around the love story between Daphne and Simon, it also served as setup for the subsequent storylines, especially his friendship with Anthony. Without realizing it, the viewer got comfortable with Anthony, leading to a natural transition between the seasons and changing the focus to another couple. And the absence of the Duke is easily explained. He's at him with their child, and even though we never see him, we can still feel his influence through Daphne, whose love didn't start burning less intensely just because we're not privy to their relationship anymore. The case is different for Francesca. She has yet to make any impression, and we know from the books that her arc has to be set up seasons before she will find love for herself. And now is the time to do just that. Ruby Stokes was cast as a series regular on another show, so scheduling it made it hard for her to accomplish more appearances on Bridgerton. Recasting her was really the only thing that made sense. But regé-jean Page will always be the Duke. Next up, Netflix has announced a Johnny Manziel documentary. With one of the more public programs in the United States, most names that come through the Texas A&M Aggies will remain mostly unknown. But every now and then there's someone who stands out, and one of those people is Johnny Manziel. As a freshman, Manziel won the 2012 Heisman Trophy, the first freshman to ever do so. After that, he was famously drafted by the Cleveland Browns, where he received the number 22 overall pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. But really, that's only the tip of the Johnny Manziel iceberg. Manziel would play 5 games in 2014 as a rookie and another 9 in 2015. Since then, Manziel has not played a single game. Somehow, the former Heisman Trophy winner only made 2 seasons of the league. Big chunks of Manziel's life, during and since, has made its way into public knowledge. But there's so much to this story that was never told, and Netflix has now taken upon itself to lay it all bare to the entire world by making a documentary about him. A related story, sort of, has already been told by Netflix through the 2-part series on Manti Te'o, Untold. While Te'o's story helps to allow people to give the former Notre Dame linebacker some sympathy, it remains to be seen if a documentary about Johnny Manziel will have the same power. What do you think? And now, President Obama has won an Emmy. Former President of the United States Barack Obama has won himself his very first Emmy. Obama received the award for his narration of the 5-part documentary series Our Great National Parks, which he produced through the Obama's production company Higher Ground. It isn't the first time Obama was nominated for a News and Documentary Emmy. In 2016, he was also a contender for David Attenborough Meets President Obama, but this time Obama was able to snatch the Outstanding Narrator award for himself. That makes him the second president in history that has won an Emmy. In Our Great National Parks, a spotlight is put on some of the planet's most spectacular national parks. Wild Space Productions and Freeborn Media also worked on the 5-part docuseries, which shows places like Tsavo, Kenya, Gunung Luzer National Park in Indonesia, and of course, closer beauties of the earth like the Monterey Bay National Marine Aquarium in California. The series was released in April 2022 and part of the multi-year TV and film deal that the Obama struck with Netflix in 2018. Sadly, the former president wasn't able to attend the ceremony himself, allowing the Academy to receive the award in his stead. But that's okay, he's probably working hard on his next project that will win him an Emmy. But wait, didn't we say there was more to come? Next up, we'll have a moment to talk about Copenhagen Cowboy, for which Netflix released a new teaser trailer. Netflix has taken its most ambitious Indonesian slate to date, and The Crown has found its William and Kate. So what are we waiting for? Let's get going. First up, we have Netflix has released a teaser trailer for Copenhagen Cowboy. The teaser trailer for Copenhagen Cowboy was finally dropped. The upcoming 6-part series from Nicholas Winding Refn is set to debut at the the 2022 Venice Film Festival and marks the filmmaker's first production in his home country, Denmark, in 15 years. When Copenhagen Cowboy was first announced, Winding Refn said with the series he's returning to his past to shape his future by creating a series, an expansion of my constantly evolving alter egos, now in the form of my young heroine, Mui. Copenhagen Cowboy follows the story of Mui, who will be portrayed by Angela Bundalovich, the young heroine who finds herself on the verge of a new beginning after a lifetime of servitude. She has to traverse the ominous landscape of the eponymous city's criminal underworld in search for justice while enacting vengeance. On the road, she'll encounter Raquel, her nemesis, and together they'll embark on an odyssey through the natural and the supernatural. The two women will discover that they're not alone, but they are many, and the past ultimately decides the future. Copenhagen Cowboy will be released later this year, but when exactly isn't known yet. But have you put it on your to-watch list as well? Following, Netflix has revealed its most ambitious Indonesian slate to date. Netflix has revealed its most ambitious Indonesian slate to date during Netflix's first time ever Indonesian slate event. The event was held in Jakarta with the local language original set for release in 2022 and 2023. Working on the upcoming Indonesian films and series that were announced are local directors, including Camilla Andini, Timo Jahanto, and Joko Anwar. First in line, we find The Big Four, which will be the first action comedy for Timo. The movie's scheduled for release later in the year and will tell the story of a female detective who teams up with 4 retired assassins to investigate her father's murder. Next, we have Dear David, a coming-of-age story from Mohammed Zaidi and directed by Lucky Kushwandi. Dear David is about a model student who secretly runs a fantasy blog. Today We'll Talk About That Day will be directed by Angga Dwima Sasongko. Since it's a prequel to his family drama, One Day We'll Talk About Today. Another exciting announcement was Netflix's first Indonesian period drama series, Gadis Kretek, which will be led by showrunner Shanti Harmain, with the help of directors Camila and Iva Isvancia. It's based on a novel by Rati Kumala about an epic romance set in the country's cigarette industry in the 1960s. On board for Nightmares and Daydreams, a sci-fi thriller series, we find Jocko, a prolific genre filmmaker. And to close off the line, we have Ex-Addicts Club, directed by Kunz Angus and Bambang Kuntara. So, what do you think? And last but certainly not least, The Crown has found its William and Kate. It took some time, but they finally got it sorted. Netflix has found its Prince William and Kate Middleton, The Crown's 6th season. Deadline has reported that Netflix has decided to go for a double dose of William in order to best portray the young prince accurately, as he grows from a young teenager into a young adult throughout the 6th season of the series. Stepping up to fill those shoes of young William, we have Rufus Campa, who will portray William aged 15. This is the time when the British royal family had to find a way to cope with the needless and tragic death of William's mother, Diana Spencer, Princess of Wales, who died in August of 1997. After that, McVeigh will take over the role of Prince William when we found ourselves later in his teens and early adult years. This is when William meets Kate while they're both studying art history at the University of St Andrews in Fife, Scotland, 2001, which means his storylines will include William's courtship of Kate. William and Kate are now the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge after marrying in 2011. Meg Bellamy has been cast to portray Kate Middleton, a new talent whose career until The Crown involved amateur dramatics and filmmaking. But for all of them, season 6 of The Crown will be their professional screen debuts. And that's all we have for now. Do you think it would be worth it to recast Simon Basset? Let us know in the comments what you think, and thanks for watching.